All right, so before I start, I just want to say that I do not have any affiliation with any particular party, nor do I have any particular opinion on any individuals that are running. I am only going to discuss what I do know about each candidate, and that's pretty much it. It's not going to be anything other than that. So we'll talk about who we know is running for president for sure first. Then we'll talk about the all but certain candidate, and then we'll talk about who's likely to run. And then we won't get into any of the other categories that are out there. Excuse me. So who do we know that's running for sure? Cory Booker. Cory Booker is 49 years old, was senator for New Jersey, former mayor of Newark. He's really big on criminal justice reform, and he's really big on trying to bring about unity for the country. I'm not going to get into, any of the rumor mill that circulate any of these people. Strictly going to give you some basic generic information. Then you have, I'm going to jack this man's name up, Buttigieg Pete. It's his first name. He's 37. He is the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, or was a previous mayor of South Bend, Indiana. He is a prior military vet. He's calling for policies on issues like climate and economic opportunity. So that's pretty much his biggest platform that he'll be going after. Then you have Julian Castro, who's 44. He is a former housing secretary, former mayor of San Antonio. He states that it's time for new energy within the White House. He's also going to be pushing for universal pre-kindergarten. Not sure what that means. Also Medicare for all, as well as immigration reform. You have John Delaney, who's 55. He's a former congressman out of Maryland. He's also a former businessman, and he calls himself a bipartisan problem solver, and he'll be pushing for things like universal health care. Tulsi Gabbard, I don't know how you say her first name, but she's 37, so she's pretty young. She is a congresswoman from Hawaii, also a prior military vet. I want to say she was in the Army National Guard. She was a big supporter for Bernie Sanders' campaign, I believe, in 2016. She has met some condemnation, though, over meeting with Syria's president, who we know was talked about for using chemicals against his own people. She is known for having some anti-gay speech history. She has since apologized for that. She also has some opposition to American military intervention in other countries, particularly Syria. So that does kind of bring about some reason for people to question it, since she did meet with their president at one point. Kirsten Gillibrand, who's 52, senator of New York, former congresswoman. She is a mother, and she feels as a mother she's going to fight for other people's kids as hard as she would fight for her own. She's very conservative, or she's in the conservative House district. She's one of the leading liberal voices. and she wants to fight for women's equality and opportunity. Then you have Kamala Harris, who's 54. She's a senator from California, also a former attorney general, as well as a former district attorney. She is going to, her platform is going to be focused on middle-class tax cuts, as well as being known as a champion for liberal civil rights agenda. And I know there's a lot of talk about her as well, and there has been for a little bit, so we'll see what her campaign looks like. Then you have Elizabeth Warren, who's 69. She's a senator from Massachusetts, former Harvard professor. She feels like it's time for women to go to Washington and fix our broken government, and she said this is going to include there being a woman on top. Major issues that she wants to focus on is income inequality. What she says is middle class is under attack from big corporations, as well as there's some political corruption going on. Then you have Andrew Yang, who's 44. He's a former tech exec. He founded economic development nonprofit. He's also wants to establish a universal basic income, which would be funded by the government. He has been put into the spotlight a little bit for his highlight of issues such as robotics and artificial intelligence. He wants this basic income to be $1,000 per month for all Americans. And then your all but certain candidate is John Hickenlooper, who's 66. He's the former governor of Colorado, former mayor of Denver, pretty moderate. He does stress his record of consensus building around issues like trying to expand Medicare, gay rights, as well as gun control. Your three candidates who are likely to run, Uncle Joe Biden is what I call him, 76. We know him as the former vice president. He's also a former senator of Delaware. He feels like he needs to restore America's standing on the global stage, also strengthen our economic protection for low-income workers in industry fields, particularly food and manufacturing. You have Steve Bullock, who's 52. He's the governor of Montana, former state attorney general. He came out in favor on assault weapons ban, also campaigning finance reform. He wants to push for early childhood education and reducing some economic inequality. And then last but not least, Bernie Sanders, who's 77. Senator from Vermont, former congressman. He's self-described Democratic socialist. He wants to have Medicare for all, free college tuition, and curtailing the influence of what he calls the billionaires. So these are all the candidates that we currently are running, are all but certain to run, or are likely to run. There's also a list of candidates that they're saying that will definitely not run, ones that are likely not to run, and Hillary Clinton is on that list of likely not to run. And then I think there was a third list. But based off of just the little bit of information that I found, there's some, kind of sketchy information on some of these folks, like you're going to find in almost every political race. There's always going to be some shady stuff in some of their past that's going to be questioned. We'll see what happens when it comes time for these individuals to actually start pushing their campaign a little bit further, because there's going to be a lot of dirt that comes out then. But this is the basics. This was a topic that was requested. This is why I'm covering this. If you guys want me to talk about anything else, or want me to go live to answer any questions in particular, let me know. But like I said, I'm going to kind of stay away from political topics. I don't mind talking about this because we're talking about the future of what could happen as our next potential president. And this is just me giving you a basic information, no opinion with this. Just giving you the basic information on each candidate. If you would like to have more information on a particular candidate, let me know that as well. And I can do some more research to provide you with further information. Until next time, love, peace, and crawfish. I'm out.